this thing recording? Recording. Checking 1, 2, 3.
Today's topic is programming.
Also, me and Tanner did not call each other asking what we were gonna wear.
We matched pretty good.
Stand up.
Should we turn for them?
What are we talking about?
Today's topic is programming.
Programming.
We'll talk a little bit about kind of our views, mine, obviously being a more CrossFit based program versus Gallo, who is a little bit more gymnastic, body, mobility, stuff like that. And the stuff in between, we'll talk a little bit about where CrossFit Providence is going, and we'll talk a little bit about our own programming. It's gonna be a beautiful thing.
Yeah. So
Gallo, take it away.
Who actually does the programming for the gym, Tanner? Please let them know.
I do. I do the programming for the gym. So we were following CrossFit New England before I started head coach here. So we were pulling stuff from Ben Bergeron about a week behind. And not that it's not good programming, it is definitely good programming. It's Ben Bergeron. But I decided that I wanted to do the programming for the gym because I want to set ourselves apart from everyone else. So not that it's not okay to pull from other gyms and take ideas, but I think it's important that when you program, that you program for your gym. Like, I know the members here, I know what they need, I know what they don't need. And on the other side is, if you ever want to set yourself apart from competition, meaning other gyms, you got to do your own programming. If not, then you're just another McDonald's, you know. And I don't really want to be McDonald's.
Yeah, like another franchise.
Yeah.
Templates.
Exactly.
Cookie cutter.
Yeah, exactly. So cookie cutter. So I started doing the program. I've gone through a lot of different things. I definitely have a strength bias. I think strength is important, and a practice bias. I think practicing movement is important because most people don't do it enough. And kind of like what we talked about in the ego piece, once that clock starts, like all kind of like a lot of mental thought in the movement goes away, and they start focusing on time versus how they're moving. So I think not having those time pieces definitely helps with that stuff.
So let's talk about one thing, because everyone has their own definition of strength.
Yep.
And I have a certain definition of strength, and there's many buckets within strength as well.
Yep.
I think when people think strength, they automatically think lifting some sort of object or some sort of weight. Mm-hmm. But there's also, which is something that I really focus on, is strength through ranges of motion. So it's like, there's strength in that, there's strength in weightlifting, there's strength in body weight. But the thing that I want to make clear is that when we talk about strength, it's not just like, okay, let's see how heavy you can go. It's also about how strong are you in different ranges of motion? How much can you support? How much weight can you support, let's say, overhead? Or I just want to make that clear, because I think when people talk about strength, or when people hear the word strength, they automatically think like bodybuilder stuff, or like Olympic weightlifting or something like that, which incorporates so many things when it comes to strength. So
it really does. I mean, I think a perfect example is we've had some overhead squats at the gym recently, and it's something that wasn't as programmed often, and I would say a good majority of people within this gym struggle at it. So instead of shying away from it and pulling it from the programming, I keep it there so that people keep working at it.
Right.
It's like one of those eye openers that it's like, you can't just be strong in CrossFit or in life in general. Like, you need to be mobile too, right? Structure is important. So if you don't have the correct mobility and strength through that mobility, so range of motion, then you're not going to be able to support weight correctly, and then it makes it harder to lift weight.
Right.
And then also, just like you said, body weight stuff. Like, can you do strict pull-ups? Can you do strict ring dips? Can you do push-ups? right? Like that's like a big thing that I see often is like people can't even do push-ups.
Yeah, and that's essentially why I wanted to start the gymnastic class on Tuesdays, so that we focus on those little tiny nuances of certain movements that people swear they have down.
Yeah.
But in reality they don't, and it's my job is to unpack the movement so that people understand how all these pieces fit together. So like, why do we do hollow bodies during warm-ups? Why does this matter? Why does the scapula have to be this way or that way? And then you notice it when you do other movements, that like everything has some sort of thread that ties everything back to like the very basic foundational movements. So yeah, gymnastics class on Tuesdays at 4:30. I'm just putting a shameless plug in there. Also, me and Tanner did not call each other asking what we were gonna wear.
We match pretty good.
Stand up.
Should we turn for them? I think we should give them a little turn.
I love how we turn towards each other.
Stick your butt out. See what, you know what I'm saying?
So this is a uniform of the day.
That's right. Brought to you by Lululemon.
Yeah. No, but in all seriousness, though, I know we talk a lot about the open, and I think a lot of people are kind of shy about doing the open, and this gym isn't as gung-ho CrossFit wise as other gyms that I've been at, which is cool. And a lot of people here really don't care about the open. I always like the competitive feel for it, even if you feel like you're not at a certain level or whatever it is. I do like when people come together. There's like something cathartic about like watching other people relentlessly cheer for other people. Even if you aren't like performing this year, just like show up. I think we're having it on Saturdays at 11. No, we're starting at 9.
Yeah, at 9.
So yeah, just come by. That'll start at the end of the month. So end of February it starts, and it's gonna run pretty much throughout all of March. So you'll get a chance, even if you're not signed up or if you don't want to do the workouts. Now, question: are we still doing like? Will the WOD on Fridays be the open WOD and give people a chance to like try it, even though they're not going to be here on Saturday?
No, so it'll just be on Saturdays.
So Friday, the day before or the day after it's announced, you're still going to have your own WOD.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay,
So
which will probably be light.
Yeah. Well, no. So here's the thing. Like so the program still has a regular Friday workout, because if you're doing the Saturday morning savages, if you're doing the open on Saturday, you shouldn't be working out on Friday anyways.
Oh, okay.
Right? So because I thought about that, I just did the program for about a month ahead of schedule, and I was thinking, I was like, oh, what do I do on Fridays? I should keep it light, this and that. I was like, well, first of all, like, if you're doing the opens on Saturdays, you should not be coming in and working out on Fridays. Yeah. Now, what I might do is put like a movement day. So like, hey, come in, do some Spider-Mans, do some bear crawls, maybe hit the rower for a couple minutes.
Yeah.
Do some hanging, nothing crazy, just like come in and move.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Partner work games and shit. That'd be cool.
Yeah, we like the shoulder tap game.
Yeah.
Like the shoulder tap game. So it's that's the thing there. So but Saturdays will solely be for that. I'm sure some of it, the thing that's always kind of like great but also shitty about the opens is there's trickle over. Meaning there's people that won't be able to come on Saturday. Mm-hmm. And so then like you'll have people on Sunday at open gym doing it. That's fine. You'll have people on Monday coming in being like, hey, like I wasn't here this weekend. Can I do it today? And there'll be like some finagling. So that definitely happens for the next, 5 weeks of the opens, but it's just kind of part of it. And to go with Gala said, we're not a super competitive gym. It's not what we focus on. The focus is health and wellness. I want you to be healthy and well trained for the rest of your life. But the opens is just like a beautiful time of year. It's kind of like a magical time. It's fun. It is a time when we can be a little bit competitive, but just with ourselves, push ourselves maybe to some new levels. People do things in the open that they've never done before. So, a lot of people get their first bar muscle up, their first pull up, their first double under. They lift a weight they've never lifted before, and then they lift it like 4 more times after that, just because like the mind shuts off, the adrenaline's going, and they just get after it. And it's just a great community builder. It brings people together, cheering people on. It's just fun. You know? So like, it doesn't have to be one of those things where it's like, none of us here are going to regionals, right? So there's no need to be like super serious about it. Like, why not just have some fun with it?
Yeah.
You can be competitive and fun.
Right. So now that's going through March. What about past March? Because I know you mentioned the program's going to change a little bit.
Yeah. So right now, programming is definitely like aerobic capacity based. Like, we still have our strength pieces.
What does that mean?
Here, give me 1 second, I'll explain.
Okay.
Yeah, so like, it's more aerobic capacity based, so we still have some strength pieces, but we're not like going through a periodized strength programming. We're not trying to peak in strength or anything like that. We're just kind of taking it day by day, seeing how whatever weight feels, you know, make sure we do some squatting, some Olympic lifting, stuff like that. Get some strict pull-ups in, get some strict dips in, you know, rinse and repeat. But what you're seeing is the longer Metcons. So you're seeing the Metcons that are longer periods of time, you know, 12 to 15 we used to hit like once, maybe twice a week. Now you're seeing it 3 times a week, maybe even 4. And then you might see things longer than that. You might see like the 20 minutes, the 30-minute EMOMs, things like that, to help build the body's ability to process oxygen.
Right.
So a good thing to always remember, though, is when you're going through those programs, you don't attack that like a 6 to 8 minute Metcon. Right? I like 6 to 8 minute Metcons because it allows people to focus, really build muscle without destroying themselves. And kind of build some fire breathing. But at the same time, people get so used to that they start doing those 12 to 15 minute workouts, those 30-minute workouts, and they don't change their pace.
Right.
So like, a good reminder I always tell the people is like, look at your split times. Right? If you're doing a workout that's like a 20-minute workout, and let's say it's 4 rounds, well, that means each round should be about 5 minutes. Right? You should get done with the first round 5 minutes, second round 10 minutes, third round 15, fourth round 20. And what I see a lot of time here at the gym is it's like, people get done with the first round in like 3.5. Then it somehow takes them like 6 or 7 minutes to get through the next round, so it's like 10 minutes, and then it's like another 6 or 7 minutes, so now they're at like 17, and then the last round takes them like 10 minutes. So instead of going slower at the beginning and just staying steady, they get all gung-ho and they come out wicked fast, and then they die. Right? When you look at those workouts, the last 25% should be hard, not the first 25%.
Yeah. It's like when you're going through an endurance WOD and people are 3 minutes in and they're already gasping for air. It's like, if you are gasping for air right now, 3 minutes in, you still have 37 minutes to go.
Yeah, anywhere from like 30 to 37 minutes. Like, chill, relax. And you see it once in a while, but I mean, you can tell people until you're blue in the face about these things. Some will listen, some won't, and some are stubborn and they just find out the hard way, right? They hit that. And hopefully they learn from it. That's kind of the purpose.
Well, that's the key. I mean, I think that there's this saying that, like, if at first you don't succeed, try listening to what your coach said in the first place. So kind of going back to the ego thing, but nonetheless, there's a reason why, and then it kind of bringing full circle to open. Like, I love seeing people push, but we're around these athletes, we're around you guys quite often, that we know where that line is that you're edging, especially if you're doing something very competitive like the Open.
Yeah.
And whether we can be like, okay, you can push it a nudge further, or we need to actually pull back because you're actually going to truly mess yourself up.
Yeah.
So that's the cool thing about being a coach, is like, truly, because we see the same people usually in our classes. So it's like we already know what the threshold is. And sometimes we get surprised by having them push further than we think, which is awesome to watch. But other times on my end, I'm always going to be the kind of coach that like isn't going to be in your face telling you to go unless it's truly warranted. Like, if it's burpees and you're just going, then that's one of those things where go, like you're yelling go. But if you're doing like 135-pound overhead squat when like your 1 rep max is like 128, then I'm going to like edge that line, you know, because adrenaline does kick in. But yeah, so aerobic capacity.
Yeah.
What is it? Yeah.
So it's that kind of like 2 minute and on time zone of like steady movement. So just your body's ability to process oxygen and shuttle it to the muscles. and then also your body's ability to strip away lactic acid buildup.
Okay, so just to clarify, when he says 2 minutes in on, we're not talking about like a 2-minute work. I think that's where people get lost. Like there's like you know, the 30 to 40 second threshold, and then there's like the 90 to 2 minute, whatever. So what we mean is like the 2 minutes on. Can you explain that a little bit more?
So you're talking about like consistently moving at the same heart rate for more than like 2 minutes. Right? So we'll go to the opposite end of that when we're talking about the other pathways.
Olympic lift.
So Olympic lifts, right? Which is like the glycolytic pathway, right? So you're talking about very quick movement, right? So, you know, you do a movement 1-2 reps, it takes you like 5 or 10 seconds to go through the whole thing, right? So it's like that movement, and then you rest, right? Or even in a class where we're like breaking things up. So like, let's say we're doing like burpees quickly in an EMOM, right? So you do like 5 burpees as quickly as you can. Let's say it takes you like 15 seconds, right? Then we're in those energy pathways versus the aerobic capacity, right? Or the oxidative energy pathway, which is longer, which is like consistently moving through the whole time. So like think about like rowing for more than 2 minutes. Like, so if you sit on the rower for more than 2 minutes at a nice steady pace, right? Not like breathing super hard, right? But like a little breathing, you know, and like keeping going, or like going slow through movement and steady. So it's not like the really intense and fast and stop, and then like really intense and fast and stop. It's like the low and slow, but for longer periods of time.
So I wanted to kind of seg into the vision that I have for the gymnastics and mobility class. A lot of it is, you know, inspired by gymnastic bodies, Edo Portal, functional range conditioning, things like that like I've learned along the way, and that I've had coaches and teachers teach me along the way about, you know, how important is active range of motion, passive range of motion, things like that, where we can do a lot with bands and foam rollers and things outside of us to help us like loosen up. But at the end of the day, that stuff doesn't really, like if you're tight and you just throw yourself on a foam roller over and over and over, we got to move past a foam roller. You know what I mean? Like you can throw yourself at that thing forever. You know, you're feeling tight, you're feeling sore, cool. You know, you're feeling a little tender. You know, move around a little bit. Maybe use it every once in a while, but it's not the holy grail of mobility. Lacrosse balls are. I mean, to get myofascial release and stuff like that, that's good to kind of move things around the tissues. But in order to actually get mobile, it has to be you getting into ranges of motion, which is important, especially when it comes to gymnastic movements, where there's prerequisites that people don't even realize, especially when I do things in my warm-up that seem like it's like kind of silly and like people see them as exercises. But like you said, there's things hidden in those warm-ups that start to activate things that you're going to need for like a dip or for those pull-ups or whatever it is. So what I'm going to be working on for the most part, especially in the gymnastics classes, lots of mobility pieces, you know, getting really uncomfortable. I'm talking about like mobility that like you're breaking a sweat during mobility. Not just like passively hanging in there and like on your phone on Instagram. Like you have to be working for these ranges of motion. Because that's the only way you're going to tell your central nervous system, which is going to tell your brain that like, okay, this is actually somewhere I can be, rather than always having something pull you into the range of motion and there's no actual work happening there. You know what I mean? So we do a lot of that. And then on top of that, we're going to, like I mentioned in the class itself, we're going to be repeating a lot of the same stuff, because at the end of the day, you're going to need to do that for at least 4 or 5 weeks. So for some people, I'll give you homework. For others, you might come in and do the same kind of like AMRAP, which I think is a great way. And then every time you do the AMRAP, you're trying to add in one more round. And I'm not talking about like a normal AMRAP where you're just going fast. I'm talking about like a slow AMRAP where you rest like a minute and a half and then hit it again until you're able to hit the next round. A lot of it is like rest as much as needed, but as little as possible, which I tell people about this and they're like, they kind of don't understand it, but it's just like, just rest as much as you need, but as little as possible. So whatever you need to get you through that next round, knowing that you still have X amount of minutes to go, that's called pacing. That's what it is. Rest as much as you need, but as little as possible is pacing. So that's kind of what we're going to be working on. Lots of in gymnastics, they break it up with bent arm, straight arm, and then legs. We'll be doing elements of all three of them every once in a while. But for the most part, I really want to get people to get better at pull-ups, get better at push-ups, very, very basic stuff. And we're just going to be doing tons of mobility and isometric holds, because understanding how to hold your body for some sort of time, like that endurance piece of a hold, really translates, especially when you start to get tired during a CrossFit Metcon or anything like that. So for some people, you might be coming in and doing somewhat of the same thing, but that's important because, what's the point of constantly doing pull-ups with a band, which some of you have been doing for like 8-9 months.
Yeah.
And having gotten past that, and you're still struggling with getting that chin this far. I mean, we got to get past that, and that's really why I wanted to do a class like this, because it's like you can't just come in and do a workout that calls for pull-ups once a week or once every 2 weeks if you miss pull-up day, you know what I mean? So you got to come in and do it. And I say pull-up because that's like the most obvious one that we see, especially for the group of members that we have here. But
no, I totally agree. I think that, it's what you're talking about is like just like a periodized program. So like taking something and just slowly building upon it, gradually as you go. So what that allows is for your body to grow, but also not break down. So like you're repeating quality of movement, you're increasing the volume just a little bit, and that allows you to grow, on a consistent basis. Whereas especially right now, like my programming is very random as we get close to the opens. There's no real periodization of everything. It's just, it's kind of feel right now.
Yeah.
And I make them do some tempo work. I make them do a little bit of stuff, but it's nothing crazy. I think it's a huge part. Like even when you see my strength programs when they're periodized, you'll see that progression. Like you'll see the movements every single week, usually on the same day, and the reps will be changing according to some sort of way of getting you better. Like if you're doing the same band, like you were saying, and you've been doing it for the last 8 months, like you're never going to get better just using that band over and over again. Like you got to try a different band. You got to try a different progression. Maybe it's negatives, maybe it's holds, maybe you switch to a chin-up grip, right? Like you got to switch it up, and you got to spend some time under tension, which we talked about earlier, right? In order to build the muscle and allow your body to understand how to contract. Some of it's about building lean muscle mass. Some of it is just like you were talking about, which is your mind-body connection. So your mind telling a part of your body to contract and it actually contracting so that you can go through the movement. And it goes to the same thing when you were talking about mobility or strengthening, which is strength stretching, right? So building strength through range of motion.
I think it's also already trademarked, by the way. Sorry.
Is it? Is
by the Russians or something?
Stretching, is it?
We do stretching with the kettlebells. We do the stretching with the kettlebells over the head.
Go ahead, sorry.
But I think that's a huge part of it that people miss a lot. Fitness isn't always fun and games. We try to make it fun, hide what they need and what they want.
Yeah.
But sometimes you're gonna have to grind. Sometimes you're gonna have to do stuff that you don't want to do. Sometimes you're gonna have to be uncomfortable, and sometimes you're gonna have to do things you don't want to do, like a lot, like a couple times a week for like months to grow. And I think it's an important piece to remember. Growth happens right where we're uncomfortable.
Yeah. And I think and this happens a lot in CrossFit gyms because there's such a broad spectrum where people do genuinely have a goal, but they're pretty much, there's a specific limitation to attaining that goal if you're going off of specific WODs, right? Because the WOD or the workout of the day or the programming that's given to you is kind of not the word template, but it is you kind of a stamp over so that everyone in the gym can benefit from it.
Yes.
So if there is a specific goal that you have to be honest with yourself. Like, do I really want this goal, or am I fine with just going off of and trusting the programming that's there, you know?
Yeah.
Or do I really want this goal? And if you really want a certain goal, then you have to either A, come in for open gym, or, you know, B, stay before or after a class and just work. I would say if it's a specific skill, you have to do it before the class. I don't care how much. If you just did an 18-minute workout and you think you can like work on a specific skill perfectly, or at least building up on that skill, you have another thing coming. It's not the same. Yeah, you might be able to get by it, but what's the point of going and trying to build a new skill, build new patterns when you've already fried your system?
And you're just coasting through the...
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're just going. That's what I mean when I say you're just going through the motions.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. So
Even though it's well intended, but if you have a skill you want to work on, that has to be done first.
Yeah.
Straight up.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing if you look at, like, Olympic lifting, right? So, like, they snatch, they clean, they jerk first. They don't squat first.
Right.
Right? Because they're working on the skill first.
Yeah.
It's the same thing, like, if you look at a lot of gymnastic stuff, there'll be the technical piece first. So, bar muscle up, ring muscle up, or working on a piece of those, right? Whether it's the turnover, whether it's the kip, whatever. And then after that, you get the strict work. So they're working on strict pull-ups, they're working on strict
And maintaining
dips.
the things that they have already, the skills that they've gotten. Yeah.
Exactly. So it's that same thing. You need to be aware, like, that part is work. Like, it's not
Work.
Put in work.
Work.
Put them in the dirt.
Work.
Honestly, I'm super excited for the kind of like functional bodybuilding-esque type stuff. I'm really excited for that stuff to come up. It's going to be a lot of fun, and I think it's going to help people grow and not hurt as much. Like, even for me, there's days where I'm like, damn, like my shoulders hurt, like they're roasted, and then I'll be like writing the program. I'll be like, how do I not do shoulders in CrossFit? It's so hard.
Yeah.
It's so hard. It's like, all right, we can like bike, we can row, we can do burpees, but like that kind of involves shoulders, not really. We can do like box jumps, can't do wall balls, can do Russian swings, not American, like can't do anything on the rig, right? Like even like toe to bar technically involves shoulders. But generally I just try to like keep it like on a level field. So I'm like, all right, try to like not go overhead too many times in a week. Try to press like once in a while, and things like that, or like press down, you know what I mean? So like some ring dips. And then like I'll try to incorporate strict stuff into that.
And tempos and stuff like that.
So that it doesn't end up being like just like kipping all day, every day. You know what I mean? Like, let's control ourselves. It slows people down. Like that workout on Tuesday was great. The strict pull-ups, the dumbbell push press, like a 1 second pause. I made people pause for 1 second at the top, and it like completely changed the entire workout.
And that's key too, because I mention this to people all the time. Like, don't just scoff off, don't just put off the tempo. When you see a tempo, when you see something that's built in with an asterisk, like rest this or add this or pause here or go down this many seconds, like it's there for a reason. All right. So don't think you can just like put that off to the side and you'll get this. There's a reason why it's there, whether it's like changing the stimulus, whether it's, working on control. So what I say to my class is like, if you see like a pause here or a tempo here and it is in a Metcon, then that should automatically give you some sort of tip that this isn't like your normal balls to wall Metcon to start, right? Especially if you see strict pull-ups, dumbbell presses with a 1 second pause, or if you see negative tempos, whatever, then that means you just, like we said, pace yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's what we're trying to change, and that's what we talk about when we say, why is our stuff a little different, is because we try to implement things that allow you to control through these ranges of motion, whether that's strict work in the Metcon, which I honestly, unless it was an EMOM, you don't really see like strict this or strict that in an AMRAP. Yeah. Because I get that the whole premise of CrossFit is like,
many reps.
work capacity over time. So
Yeah.
you're trying to get as much into this little tiny bracket. So I think it's a good change of perspective. And I hope that it starts to trickle into our classes and starts to trickle into people's perspective as well, where it's not just, because man, like you mentioned, like, where is that line where you're coming in an hour a day and not having to spend the other 23 hours of your day feeling like shit, in pain, these glitches, I got this in my knee, I got that, I got this, I'm not eating well, all this time that I'm putting in doing this extra work at the gym isn't really helping me in this area of my life. So we got to figure out the bigger picture, and I think we're always going to bring these conversations back to that, is, tempo and aerobic capacity and like, central nerve, all that stuff is cool and it's great jargon and it's good to know. But if none of this is helping you outside of the gym, then it doesn't matter.
It doesn't. It doesn't.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't. I mean, what? You come let's say, an athlete that comes 5 days a week, that's 5 hours.
Yeah.
There's 163 other hours in a week. You know what I mean? Like, what are you doing with your time?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, don't get me wrong. Like, when you come here, it should be the best hour of your day. Like, you should have fun. You should be growing. It should be all these different things. But, like, you should also have fun outside of the gym.
And then this is kind of like a topic that's close to me, is when we talk about having fun, yeah, we can come in and like, oh, this workout and this sucks and this sucks. And it's cool because there's like a little camaraderie and suffering together.
Yeah.
But like, that doesn't mean none of this can't be fun, and that comes to like we're talking about play. Play can be serious. You know what I mean? Like, if you play seriously, you'll grow. And then you build skills and you get stronger. Same thing with like coming in. Have fun, Just because you see something you suck at, don't take it so seriously. Like, quit taking like the weight that's prescribed and all this stuff so seriously. Like,
doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. Just what matters is having fun, continuously coming.
Yep.
Meeting people. That's the reason why all of this exists, is because if you come in, and I used to be like that until like something changed. It's just like you get to know people, like get to say hi to someone, and we do a good job of like find a partner.
Yeah.
Say hi to someone. Let's go through names.
New friends.
Right? Because it's like in certain classes, I partner people up, and people, they're like, I don't know what to do.
Socially
hi.
awkward.
It's like, hi. It's just like
Socially awkward.
chill, You're doing drills together. You're having fun. You're stretching. Like, just have fun.
My favorite is when there's like 2 or 3 people in the class and they like squat on opposite ends of the rack. They have like one person like squatting way down here and like one person squatting down here. You're like, what the fuck?
And then I'm like, hey, can you bring it on over here? And they give me like the eye roll. They're like,
yeah.
Jeez.
It's like I have to be next to another person. God.
Jeez.
So
and
awful.
the cool thing is when that happens, people actually start to have conversation.
Yeah.
The conversation that wouldn't have happened if you were so isolated across the room.
And it ends up not being that bad. It actually ends up being fun. You know what I mean? Like, it's okay. You know what I mean? Everybody's different. Talk to somebody new, you might learn something.
So, have fun. Doesn't always have to be serious.
Yeah.
But also take it seriously at the same time. I think it's a difference between taking something seriously and not taking yourself too seriously. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, come in, work hard, but like at the same time, don't come in here and be the fucking douchebag that like doesn't listen to a coach and like thinks you're all
that and a bag of chips.
Exactly.
I like chips.
You finish my sentences.
I know, it's cute.
We finish each other's sentences.
Yeah, and each other's coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Is there anything else you want to talk about, bro beans?
No, I think that was good because this thing's gonna.
Cool. I think this should be like the new sign off. So like you on that side, me on that side like this, right? And then you cross your leg like the same way.
With the same uniform.
Yeah. And it's and then it's like CrossFit and coffee, or is it coffee and CrossFit? It's CrossFit and coffee, right?
I'm not sure.
Got it. Nice, dude. That was a good one.